Welcome to our exploration of IB Economics Topic 2.1, the Law of Demand and the Demand Curve. In this video, we'll delve into the foundational concepts that explain consumer behavior, discuss key assumptions, and examine how various factors influence demand. Whether you're aiming for SL or HL, this comprehensive breakdown will cover everything you need to know. Let's get started. Segment 1, the Law of Demand. The law of demand is a fundamental principle in economics, stating that there is an inverse relationship between the price of a good and the quantity demanded. In simpler terms, as the price of a good increases, the quantity demanded generally decreases, and vice versa, assuming other factors remain constant, ceteris paribus. Assumptions underlying the law of demand, HL only. For HL students, it's important to understand the assumptions that underpin the law of demand. 1. The income effect. When the price of a good falls, consumers experience an increase in their real income, allowing them to purchase more of the good. Conversely, when the price rises, their real income decreases, leading to a reduction in the quantity demanded. 2. The substitution effect. When the price of a good rises, it becomes more expensive relative to substitutes, prompting consumers to switch to those alternatives. Similarly, when the price falls, the good becomes cheaper compared to substitutes, increasing its quantity demanded. 3. The law of diminishing marginal utility. This law states that as a consumer consumes additional units of a good, the added satisfaction, utility, from each additional unit decreases. Therefore, consumers are only willing to buy more of a good at lower prices, which helps explain the downward slope of the demand curve. Segment 2. The demand curve. The demand curve is a graphical representation of the relationship between the price of a good and the quantity demanded. Diagram downward sloping demand curve. Imagine a graph with price on the vertical axis and quantity demanded on the horizontal axis. The demand curve slopes downward from left to right, reflecting the inverse relationship between price and quantity demanded. As price decreases, quantity demanded increases, illustrating the law of demand. Segment 3, relationship between individual consumer demand and market demand. The demand curve can represent either an individual consumer's demand for a good or the total market demand. Individual demand. This refers to the quantity of a good that a single consumer is willing and able to purchase at various prices. Market demand. Market demand is the sum of all individual demands for a particular good at each price level. As more consumers enter the market, or as individual demands change, the market demand curve shifts. In essence, the market demand curve aggregates individual preferences into a single curve, providing a clearer picture of how the entire market responds to changes in price. Segment 4, non-price determinants of demand. While price is a key factor, other variables can shift the entire demand curve. These are known as non-price determinants. 1. Income. A rise in consumers' income typically increases demand for normal goods, goods for which demand rises as income rises, and decreases demand for inferior goods, goods for which demand falls as income rises. 2. Tastes and preferences. Changes in consumer preferences, often driven by trends, advertising, or cultural shifts, can increase or decrease demand for certain goods. 3. Future price expectations. If consumers expect prices to rise in the future, they may increase their current demand, and vice versa. 4. Price of related goods. Substitutes. An increase in the price of a substitute good, e.g., tea versus coffee, can increase demand for the good in question. Complements. An increase in the price of a complementary good, e.g., printers versus ink cartridges, can decrease demand for the good in question. 5. Number of consumers. A growing population or a rise in the number of consumers in a market naturally increases the demand for goods. These factors shift the demand curve to the right, an increase in demand, or to the left, a decrease in demand, altering the quantity demanded at every price level. Segment 5, movements along the demand curve and shifts of the demand curve. Finally, it's crucial to differentiate between movements along the demand curve and shifts of the demand curve. Movements along the curve. These occur when there is a change in the quantity demanded due to a change in the price of the good itself. This movement can either be upward or downward along the existing demand curve. Shifts of the curve. Shifts occur when non-price determinants change. If demand increases, the curve shifts to the right. If demand decreases, the curve shifts to the left. Diagram, movements along versus shifts of the demand curve. Imagine a demand curve on a graph. A movement along the curve shows a change from one point to another along the same curve, whereas a shift would move the entire curve to a new position. Conclusion. To summarize, understanding the law of demand, the demand curve, and the factors influencing demand are essential for analyzing consumer behavior and market dynamics. By grasping these concepts, you'll be well equipped to explore deeper economic principles in both your SL and HL studies. Thanks for watching, and stay tuned for more insights into the fascinating world of economics.